We're moving on to the offensive line, and I'm going to apologize right now, but I kind of cheated here a little bit in that I'm really only giving you who I think are the starters because I think as of right now, it's pretty tough to pick backups just because obviously it likes to move guys around. But I'm going to do my best to give you a backup. So left tackle is going to be James Neal, I believe. That seems like one that's pretty well slated in there as going to be the starter at left tackle. I think he would have been the starter last year had Jalen Travis not transferred in from Princeton. Obviously, had an amazing season. James Neal would have started there. I know the coaching staff really likes him. In my admittedly non-expert opinion on offensive line, I thought he was, in 2023, I thought he was okay. I don't think he was bad. I think he was just okay. And that maybe his skills would be better suited as a guard, but that doesn't mean, in a year of not playing a ton that he hasn't gotten better, improved his flexibility, improved his mobility, all that. My guess for a backup, if you're going to ask me to guess a backup, my guess would be Tyler Morrow. Tyler Morrow, he is a redshirt senior from Davenport Assumption. He's 6'7", 305. He's been in the program forever. That's my guess as your backup left tackle, but who knows? Left. So I'm gonna do the interior again. I'm cheating on my cheating here because the interior, even per today's press conference here with Taylor Mauser on that, they basically haven't really decided on what the interior is going to look like as far as where guys play yet. But the interior, I believe, is going to be Dylan Barrett at left guard, Brendan Black at center, Jim Boniface at right guard, with Trevor Burr potentially starting at either of the guard spots. I think it's been mentioned before. Clanton, I believe, mentioned that like he did not mention Trevor Burr as being in contention to be center. Um, it's going to be three of these four, with one of the first three being center. That's what we know. The fourth one, whoever isn't starting, is gonna play a bunch, like maybe every other series or something like that. Whatever that looks like. If Trevor Burr is not the starter, he's gonna play a bunch. If Jim Boniface isn't the starter, he's gonna play a bunch. So in a way, it doesn't necessarily matter a ton which of these three starts. It matters where, but it doesn't matter necessarily a ton of where Barrett and Boniface start if they're the starting guards, and because Trevor Burr will rotate in and out for them. If you're going to ask me to pick some more backups behind them, one interesting name that apparently has been killing it is a true freshman by the name of Zavia Ikakula. I'm going to say he's one of the backups for the guard. Sounds like he's been killing it. Um, Maybe kind of a fun little name to throw in here too. Cool he's from Ohio, true freshman. I'm not sure exactly where he fits in or what kind of camp he's had but I just think he's an interesting name. He was the highest rated recruit or highest rated offensive line recruit of the 2025 class. Interesting name to throw in there, I think. A few other guys. Dontrell Holt has apparently been pretty impressive. He's a redshirt fresh, 6'5", 315-pound redshirt freshman from Joplin, Missouri. Gabe Greenlee was listed on the end of season depth chart last year. 6'7", 305 from hometown kid from Ames, Iowa. Dalen Hazard, I'm curious to see because that was a guy that was kind of we all thought had a shot to really break out there. He could be your backup at right tackle, left tackle type thing. But and speaking of right tackle, Tyler Miller, he's been around forever. I think he's 6'9", 335. He's a mountain of a human being. That's finally starting to get some recognition as an NFL prospect. But he's been around long enough that he was a starter, or not necessarily a starter, but he played in the Cheez-It Bowl, I believe. So like he's been the starter since the Hunter Deckers era. Tyler Miller's been around forever. Not much to say here. He's been pretty reliable. Big dude. Going to go to the NFL at some point. That's Tyler Miller. All right. Now let's move to the defensive side of the ball. At the Leo spot, we've got Miles Mendozun starting. The backup here, I started. I'll confess here on the defense, I started running out of time a little bit because I realized I was getting these made. And I realized it was like 7:01, so I didn't get a backup list for these. Miles Mendozun, I think, is going to be your starter at Leo. He was listed as the backup at that spot at the end of the season depth chart last year. With Joey Peterson now out the door, Miles Mendozun is the obvious one to slide in there. My guess is the backup here is going to be either Vontroy Malone. I'm just going to say Vontroy Malone here, the transfer from Tulsa. From what I've heard, is he's had a good camp. You know, it doesn't necessarily matter a ton, you know, who's starting and who's backing up these different spots right off the bat, because in the end, I would say is going to go with the hot hand at these spots. If someone is having a good game, they're getting off the line quick, getting around guys, doing a good job in the run fits, they're gonna keep playing. And I would say desperately needs to find a couple defensive ends that can really be that can be really effective during the game, at least be good enough to help Dominique Orange, you know, do his thing. So, you know, that's kind of where that is. But I don't know. It'd be nice if this position group was a little bit better sorted out. You know, this is in my mind, this is the obvious like biggest position battle going on to figure out who's going to be playing these spots. Because I don't know. I wish they had somebody here that gave me a lot of faith, I think, because you have guys in here, like we'll bring them up right now. The other edge here with Ekene Eziogu and Jace Gilbert. Ekene Eziogu has the athleticism and the size to be a dominant player. I mean, like a dominant player. They pull it up. I'm pretty sure he's like 6. Is he 6'5"? 6'5", 285. He's a super athletic kid. Like Ekene Eziogu should be a dominant pass rusher. However, at times doesn't like. I don't want to say he's like. I don't want to say he's like a low motor player, but his motor is a little inconsistent in my opinion. So to me, Ekene Eziogu is in a somewhat similar situation to the way like what David Irving was. Now, I don't think Ekene Eziogu has the off-field issues that David Irving did, but I think it is truly to a certain point a matter of him deciding how good he wants to be. Because I think all the tools are there to be a really, really great player. He's just got to, you know, it's a motor thing, I think, with him that you got to keep him going, keep him consistent. And if you do that, I think you got a great pass rusher there, but we got to see it. Jace Gilbert was listed behind him as at that spot at the end of the year depth chart. I don't see any reason to go away from that. You know, I don't have him on here. I think Tomatoa McDonough could be, you know, he'll be in the rotation for this. You know, I would assume Cannon Butler would be the transfer from UNI. I would assume he's involved in some capacity. I don't know exactly where, just because, you know, I think his skills are somewhat limited as far as pass rush goes. Like I don't know if he's as effective of a pass rusher as you want him to necessarily be, but he can be a good run stopper, which is good. So, you know, we'll see how that shakes out. Maybe he turns out to be a great pass rusher and, you know, I'm wrong. That's fine. I'm good with that. Nose tackle, defensive tackle shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Dominique Orange, blocked up, and then backed up by Zamir Hawk. Dominique Orange in most games this season Iowa State plays is going to be the best individual football player on the field. He just is. He's that good. He's a first team All Big 12 player. He could be an All-American. You know, can't say I'd be incredibly shocked to see him on some sort of like semifinalist list for a postseason, a postseason, individual award of something like that. I think he's going to be really, really great. And Dominique is another one that I think, he's slowly done a great job of kind of rebuilding his body a little bit because he came in, he was massive. He's trimmed down quite a bit, helped his athleticism, helped his mobility, helped his stamina, and now he can be a truly dominant force in the middle of that defensive line. So, you know, that's that one's pretty well wrapped up. Zamir Hawk played a bunch of snaps last year too. Looked really good a lot of the time.